Hey everyone, welcome to the road to Avengers Doomsday. I'm Jonathan, and every single month I'm going back through the MCU, revisiting each movie and showing you how to make custom LEGO minifigures from every single Marvel film leading up to the culmination in Avengers Doomsday. We've made it a long way so far, so be sure to hit like and subscribe, and let's get into today's movie starting now. Well, this has brought us to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and to be honest with you guys, I hadn't watched this movie since I saw it in theaters, and watching it again, man, this movie just carries so much weight. It's so sad, but it's such a fitting tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I feel like all the characters are explored so well, and I can't even imagine how difficult this movie was to make, literally in every sense of the word, but I really enjoyed revisiting it, and of course revisiting it here in the context of LEGO, where we're going to make all of the main characters using 100% official LEGO parts and pieces. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Okay, we'll kick things off with Queen Ramonda. Now, this is a really fun figure to try and make because she requires so many unique colors and pieces, because all of her outfits across all of the Black Panther movies actually are very regal and elegant. Now, that being said, the hat is really the hardest part. I went ahead and used the graduate cap from the CMF, and I kind of positioned it leaning straight forward. The reason being is it's really hard to capture any of her hats in LEGO form, and I felt like this was a good way to get some different shaping while also keeping it unique, but I could understand if you wanted to go with something else. If you did, let me know what you would go with in the comments. The face comes from Storm from the X-Men. The torso is Star-Lord T'Challa flipped around, which I thought was fitting. Then, of course, these legs are actually like a dress piece, and it came from one of like the Spider Witch characters from like the... I think it was CMF or City or something like that. I'm sure someone will let me know. And the arms with the gold bands come from Bumblebee from the LEGO DC CMF. This isn't a perfect representation of any one outfit she wears in the movie, rather just a good representation overall of her general look, because I don't know that any of her outfits translate to LEGO quite perfectly. Okay, here we have Okoye, but also this could double for any of the Dora Milaje. So as much as you could do to get as many of these as possible will definitely help you army build. I went ahead and used the exact figure from the most recent versions of Okoye because it is the best version. Getting that gold shoulder pad there, like that wasn't even an available piece last time I made this showcase. At least I don't think so. Anyways, these legs came from Castle, I think from like 2013 or something like that. Not a necessary upgrade, but just adds a little bit of extra detail that's really nice. All right, so here we have Atuma, and it's crazy. LEGO made this giant helmet piece for Atuma, very unique to this figure. A double-sided head and leg printing, hip printing, all the good stuff. And then, I don't want to say he was barely a character in the movie, but like all of this new molding and printing for a character that I doubt we'll ever see in a significant way in the MCU ever again. That being said, for his representation from this movie, I just left him exactly as is, no updates, because LEGO did crush it with this figure right out of the box. Okay, here we have Namor, who does require a couple different pieces to add. Now, this cape piece here, I think came from Monkey Kid, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely a very cool red split cape piece there, which is great. Then the hair piece with the winged ears and the swept-back black hair, the torso, and those great legs with the hip printing on the side and the wings on his feet are actually from the official Namor minifigure from the Wakanda Forever sets. Now, the head comes from Tasu Leech from LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens, and these arms come from Tarantula from the LEGO Batman movie, which is great. And if you wanted to make his like more regal look with the headdress, this helmet piece that actually came from the CMF Aztec Warrior figure makes for a really great representation. I think it's as close as we could get to the helmet that he wears in the movie, and I dig that look quite a bit. All right, for Shuri, she's got a great look here as well. The hair and the headpiece come from the official Shuri minifigure from the Wakanda Forever sets, while the torso is a flipped-around Star-Lord T'Challa, which works really well when flipped around, and the legs come from Catwoman from the LEGO Batman movie. Okay, here we go, making Ross, who was a lot of fun to revisit for this. Now, the torso and legs come from Michael Scott, Creed Bratton, or from Professor X from the X-Men, so thankfully they've become relatively common. I went ahead and used the face from Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit because, of course, they're both played by the same actor, so I think that works well here. And the hairpiece comes from Commissioner Gordon from the Lego Batman movie to tie the look together. For Val, she was pretty simple to make. I used the head from Elaine from Seinfeld, since of course they're both played by the same actress. The torso comes from Snape from Harry Potter, and the hair comes from Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy. All right, here we have Riri Williams, who, of course, is just in her civilian clothing the first time we meet her. And I used a flipped-around Tony Stark torso. This torso was also used on Owen Grady from Jurassic World, with some light blue legs for her jeans, hands that match the head, which, of course, comes from the official Ironheart minifig we'll look at later in this video, and the hair comes from Mordo from the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness Sanctum Sanctorum, although I think it's been used elsewhere, but for superhero fans, that's probably the place where you'd have it from if you've got it in the collection. For Riri's Ironheart Mark I suit, of course, we got a great minifigure from the Wakanda Forever sets back in the day. The jetpack build is really cool. The one thing I don't love is the hairpiece, but that being said, I don't really know what other hairpiece we could put on there that would make sense. Like, in my first showcase, I used the Finn hair from Star Wars, which works, but I think it's way too short for Riri. And then, of course, the hair we just used on the civilian version is too long because it won't fit with the backpack. So I'm just going to say we leave the figure as is, but if you guys have a better hair suggestion, let me know. Up next is Nakia, and I loved her in this movie. Man, this movie is just so somber to watch, but regardless, I used the same head, torso, and legs from Nakia, but I switched out the hair for the hair from April O'Neil from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie sets. Her hair isn't quite this red in the movie, but I do think it's the best option to get the length and the color just right. But let me know what you guys think. Up next is Killmonger from the Ancestral Plane, and man, when I saw this movie in theaters back in the day, this was so crazy when she walks around the chair and sees him there. God, that was crazy. Anyways, to make the figure, this is the flipped around head from Falcon from Infinity War with the piece here that is the mohawk kind of, I guess you would call it ponytail, from Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok. Then the torso is Moon Knight's torso flipped around with regular white arms, hands to match, and Moon Knight's legs to kind of get that Ancestral Plane look. Up next, we have Shuri in her Black Panther outfit, which only came in one set from back in the day, so kind of tough to find these days. But the legs and the arms come from the inside-out suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. Those worked really well to complement with the original head and torso from the Shuri Black Panther from the Wakanda Forever sets. And for just a little bit of extra flair, I'm using the horn piece here with the printing on top from the original 2016 Civil War version of Black Panther. It's crazy to me that we only ever got one M'Baku, and of course it was in those Wakanda Forever sets, so to upgrade him, I used the torso and head from the original figure with that flat top black hair from that figure as well. Then, of course, I added around his neck one of these bird's nest pieces, also used on like Kraven the Hunter and some other characters from over the years. I used this brown cape, I believe, from Boba Fett from Star Wars, and the handcuff trick where you take a pair of handcuffs, cut the chain off, and then put the gauntlets back on to help a figure's arms look a little bit more bulky. Then the legs also come from Tassu Leech from Lego Star Wars. All right, here we have Ironheart in her Mark II Wakandan-style suit, and we did get this minifigure back in the day from the Wakanda Forever sets. Such a cool minifig, of course, when we lift it up. That's where that Riri Williams head comes from earlier that we were talking about. And this figure is so perfect out of the box. The only thing I changed was adding the dual-molded arms from any of the Incredibles minifigures so that you get black and red detail on those arms. For the final battle, the Dora Milaje get their upgraded suits, and this is basically the same design I made from years ago. The only change I made was using light blue hands because A, they're a little bit more common, and B, I like that it adds some more blue color. But the head comes from one of the scavengers from Jakku from Star Wars Episode 7, and the legs and flipped around torso come from Ajak from the Eternals. And at the end of the movie, we meet T'Challa Jr., and this scene is just always so sad. Ah, man. I can't believe Chadwick isn't with us anymore, but they paid such a great tribute in this movie, and I love, love, love the legacy that he's left behind. But for T'Challa Jr. here, we have a flipped around yellow torso with these short sleeves, which came from Scarecrow from the Lego Batman movie, but with the eraser method used to get the printing off to just give us dual molded arms. I use these kind of sand blue legs with this head from Lego Jurassic World and some flat black hair to finish the look. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of this showcase. Of course, up next, we've got everybody's favorite MCU film, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That is going to be one of the videos of all time, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys soon.